Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is VC Pramod and with me is Reshma Tiwari, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Central excise duty reduced on petrol by 8 rupees per litre and on diesel by 6 rupees per litre in India. Commerce Industry Minister Piyush Goyal to lead Indian delegation at the World Economic Forum in Davos from Sunday. Australian Labour Party leader Anthony Albanese to take over as country's next Prime Minister. Prime Minister Scott Morrison concedes poll defeat. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on a two-day visit to Japan on Monday to take part in Quad Leaders Summit, to hold bilateral meetings with US President Joe Biden and Prime Ministers of Australia and Japan. 9 new ministers inducted in Ranil Wickremesinghe cabinet in Sri Lanka. India's Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says terrorism is a grave threat to humanity and world peace. World Health Organization confirms 80 cases of monkeypox in 11 countries. Indian men's compound team wins gold medal in Archery World Cup 2022 Stage 2 in Gwangju, South Korea. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals set a victory target of 160 runs before Mumbai Indians at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Government of India on Saturday reduced the central excise duty on petrol by 8 rupees per litre and on diesel by 6 rupees per litre. This will reduce the price of petrol by 9.5 rupees per litre and of diesel by 7 rupees per litre. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced this in a series of tweets. The minister said it will have a revenue implication of around 1 lakh crore rupees per year for the government. She exhorted all state governments, especially the states where reduction was not done during the last round in November last year, to also implement a similar cut and give relief to the common man. She also announced that this year government will give a subsidy of 200 rupees per gas cylinder up to 12 cylinders to over 9 crore beneficiaries of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. This will have a revenue implication of around 6,100 crore rupees a year. Government is also reducing the customs duty on raw materials and intermediaries of plastic products where the country's import dependence is high. This will result in reduction of cost of final products. Ms. Sitharaman said similarly customs duty is being calibrated on raw materials and intermediaries for iron and steel to reduce their prices. Import duty on some raw materials of steel will be reduced. Export duty on some steel products will be levied. She said measures are being taken up to improve the availability of cement and through better logistics to reduce the cost of cement. She said the world is passing through a difficult time due to COVID and Ukraine conflict has brought in supply chain problems and shortages of various goods. This has resulted in inflation and economic distress in a lot of countries. But despite the adverse economic conditions, Narendra Modi government is committed to ensure that prices of essential items are kept under control. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that on Saturday, financial decisions, especially the one relating to a significant drop in petrol and diesel prices, will positively impact various sectors. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said it will provide relief to our citizens and further ease of living. On the announcement of providing a subsidy of 200 rupees per gas cylinder to the beneficiaries of the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, the Prime Minister said the decision on Ujjwala subsidy will greatly ease family budgets.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal will lead the Indian delegation at the World Economic Forum WEF in Davos from 22nd to 26th of this month. The delegation will include Health and Family Welfare Minister Mansukh Mandavia, Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, Chief Ministers and Senior Ministers of 6 states, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Telangana. Several industry leaders will also participate in the deliberations of World Economic Forum. This event would further help reinforce country's position as an important and relevant stakeholder in shaping the global narrative, particularly as India assumes presidency of the G20 next year. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on expectations from India at Davos. In conversation are Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist.
Today we are discussing the Davos Summit, and we see that the world is getting together to look at the challenges that have been presented by the post-COVID world and how the world moves together forward. We also have an Indian delegation which will be representing India's interests at the summit. Ambassador Sajjanhar, when you see the summit which is happening post-COVID and the number of challenges facing the world, how do you, one, look at the summit, and two, at India's participation in the summit?
I think both these questions are very important, Simran, what you said. As far as the summit is concerned, there are two themes that the summit has identified for itself, and they respond to the first question that you have posed. The theme of the summit overall is history at a turning point, government policies and business strategies. And along with that, another sub-theme that has been identified is working together, restoring trust. So I think these aspects are extremely important because if you look at the pandemic that took place in early 2020, I think one of the biggest casualties that took place at that time was of trust. As far as the supply chains are concerned, we know that China had tried to weaponize them, and so there was a huge reduction as far as trust and confidence in the resilience and in the credibility, reliability of the supply chains was concerned. So one of the aspects as far as this World Economic Forum, the Davos Summit is concerned, is restoring trust and how the countries can really get together and start working together. The second big challenge that has surfaced in front of the world after the once-in-a-century pandemic, which still is continuing because we have seen over recent weeks and months, whether it is China, North Korea, or some of the other places, the incidence of the pandemic has not come down. As far as India is concerned, because of the very prudent policies of the government and also the cooperation and full active participation of the people, we have been able to handle this very effectively. But the second equal challenge that is now facing the world is that of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict that started with the Russian aggression on Ukraine on the 24th of February and does not seem to be in sight. And we have seen that over the last more than 2.5 months that there is a huge increase as far as prices of gas, prices of oil in the world, prices of commodities are concerned. There is huge shortage of fuel, of food items, of fertilizers. And all this is impacting upon the developing countries particularly. Of course, the developed countries are also not unaffected. We've seen how the prices of gas and hydrocarbons in the United States, in Europe, and the United Kingdom have also increased. The countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, which are dependent so much on wheat imports from Russia or Ukraine, or maize coming from there, or edible oil coming from there. So all of them have been very badly affected. So this summit is going to discuss all these issues. It is expected that about 50 heads of government will be participating. This would include the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. It would include the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. It will have the NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg, the US Climate Envoy John Kerry, and many others will be participating. About 2,500 people are expected to participate, and this would include politicians, political leaders, business leaders, civil society activists, and many others, because after 2020, this is the first in-person summit in Davos that is taking place. Now, responding to your second question in terms of Indian participation, we will have the Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal. He will be leading India's delegation. There will be about 6, both chief ministers and ministerial representatives from different states. We will have the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, of Karnataka, of Andhra Pradesh. We will also have very many central ministers like Mr. Mansukhlal Mandavia, the Health Minister, also Ambassador Hardeep Puri, who is the Petroleum Minister and Housing Minister. And in addition to that, there will be a large number of business leaders and tycoons who will be participating. We also have Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, who will also be there and participating in some of the sessions. So basically the idea will be that since, of course, India also faces its own challenges, but still India's economy has done comparatively quite well. Look at our growth rate. Even the IMF has said that India will be the fastest growing economy during the current year, about 8% plus economic growth. We also have done exceedingly well as far as our exports are concerned. For the first time, we have crossed the $400 billion mark as far as our export of goods are concerned. As far as export of services are concerned, more than $250 billion. So we are doing well on that front. We are doing well also in terms of our GST collections, 1.68 lakh crores in the last month. And so by and large, Indian economy has been doing well, notwithstanding the inflationary pressures and challenges. So I think this is all what the Indian delegation at different levels will try to project in discussions during the Davos summit.
Ambassador Sajjanar, we also see that the topics on the agenda will include pandemic recovery, tackling climate change, building a better future for work, accelerating stakeholder capitalism, harnessing the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. As you mentioned, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be there. The Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister, his Karnataka counterpart, the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister will be there. So we see that this is a heavy Indian delegation which is going there, and we have very important topics on agenda. How do you see the world coming together on these issues, especially given the fact that post-COVID we see, and as you pointed out, our economy has still done okay. Other economies haven't done that well.
Yeah, that is, I think, the biggest challenge, and these are some of the aspects that the leaders will try to discuss, whether it is the political leaders or the business leaders, civil society activists. They will try to discuss and try to find a way out. The reason why we have the energy prices going up so much and the food prices going up so much, because Black Sea ports are not being able to be employed for export of grain, of wheat, of maize and other items. And Russia is not allowing those Black Sea ports to be used for export. And Russia is not being invited to this summit because of the sanctions that have been placed on Russia. So I think it is definitely going to be a challenge. But taking some of the issues that you have mentioned, one is in terms of the pandemic recovery. That I think definitely the leaders are going to discuss as to how the world in a very significant way is coming out situation in May 2022. It is extremely very different from what prevailed in 2020. And we do have a large number of vaccines. Even if we were just to look at the situation as far as India is concerned, we see that India has about 4 domestically manufactured vaccines, and we have supplied our vaccines to about 98 countries. Many of them we have given gratis to these countries. Our own people of 1.3, 1.4 billion people, we have been able to deal with that quite effectively because of the very close collaboration between the government policies and the people. So I think India has emerged, as far as dealing with the COVID-19 is concerned, some sort of a role model. Also, as far as the economy is concerned, the policies that we have followed are very prudent, and that is why they have resulted in this outcome that India will be the fastest growing economy this year and maybe for several years to come also. Climate change is also a very important issue, and you would recall, Simran, that when the last virtual summit took place in January of 2022, then Prime Minister Modi had given a call that the whole world should adopt the ethos of life, which stands for lifestyle for environment. That means we need to change our lifestyle, we need to change our mindset as far as the climate change issues are concerned. And he had also given a call for following the policy of the 3 Ps, which stands for pro-planet people. So I think these are all aspects that are going to be discussed in detail. In fact, it is not the first time that these issues are going to be discussed, but they have been subject of deliberation for the last several months and years. But I think what is important, as I mentioned, this is the first in-person meeting that will be taking place after more than 2 years. And I am hopeful that some concrete ideas and decisions will emerge as a result of these discussions.
With these comments, we bring today's discussion to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Australian Labor Party leader Anthony Albanese will take over as the next Prime Minister of the country after Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison conceded defeat in the national election held on Saturday. In a televised speech in Sydney, Mr. Morrison said, while vote counting was incomplete, the opposition Labor Party looked likely to form a government. Mr. Morrison said he has spoken to the leader of the opposition and the incoming Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and congratulated him on his election victory on Saturday evening.
It's a difficult night for Liberals and Nationals around the country, as nights like this always are. They are humbling, but so is victory. Victory is also humbling and always should be. Tonight I've spoken to the Leader of the Opposition and the incoming Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and I've congratulated him on his election victory this evening.
Mr. Morrison added that he would stand down as leader of the Liberal Party. The counting of votes is still underway for Parliament elections. The counting started shortly after polling ended Saturday evening. The final results are expected to be declared soon. Mr. Morrison became Prime Minister in 2018 after several leadership changes. Australia, a federation of 6 states, follows the parliamentary system. It has 151 seats in the House of Representatives. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Australian Labor Party leader Anthony Albanese on his party's election win. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi said he is looking forward to work with him for further strengthening the comprehensive strategic partnership and for shared priorities in the Indo-Pacific region. This is All India Radio News, giving you the news. For quick news updates on the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a visit to Japan on the 23rd and 24th of this month to participate in the Quad Leaders Summit in Tokyo at the invitation of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Briefing media in New Delhi on Saturday evening, Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra said that apart from participating in the Quad Summit, Mr. Modi will also hold bilateral meetings with US President Joe Biden and Prime Ministers of Australia and Japan. A report.
Prime Minister Modi will also engage with the Japanese business community and the Indian diaspora during his stay in Tokyo. On the Quad Leaders Summit, Mr. Kwatra said Quad cooperation is anchored in the shared values and commitment to the principles of democracy, international law and rules-based international order. There's also vision for free, open and rules-based and inclusive Indo-Pacific. He said that since its first summit, Quad has been working to implement positive and constructive agenda with a strong focus on enabling peace, prosperity and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Cooperation efforts have included working together on climate action, which involves creating a decarbonized green shipping network in the Indo-Pacific, making use of clean hydrogen and making it more accessible. He said cooperation on critical and emerging technologies, biotechnology, diversification of semiconductor supply chain and security of critical cyber infrastructure are other key priority areas of cooperative measures in the Quad. Continuing cooperation on COVID response and post-COVID management of economy and health infrastructure are also important elements. On Mr. Modi's bilateral meeting with the US President on the 24th of this month, the Foreign Secretary said the India-US relationship is multifaceted, diversified and has acquired momentum. He said long-standing cooperation in diverse areas ranging from trade, defense, security, climate, education and energy is on an upward trajectory. Mr. Modi will also meet his Japanese counterpart. The Foreign Secretary said Japan is among India's most important partners and Mr. Modi has referred to India-Japan relationship as one of the most natural in the region. In the last few years, India-Japan special strategic and global partnership has seen great momentum.
The economic pillar and within the economic pillar, the commercial and within the commercial pillar, the business-to-business partnerships, they are very critical segment of our relationship. It frankly includes trade, which is crucial, technology and investment partnerships. Within the broad rubric of trade, investment and technology, there is a whole set of specific areas in which this partnership is to be taken forward.
The Foreign Secretary said it is expected that Mr. Modi will meet the new Australian Prime Minister in Tokyo. This is Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa administered oath to 9 new cabinet ministers as political instability and economic crisis continue to affect the island nation. Officials from the President's office said more ministers will be sworn into the new cabinet by next week. Sri Lanka has seen weeks of public protests amid ongoing political and economic instability, which has led to a shortage in essential supplies, including food and medicines.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that terrorism is a grave threat to humanity and world peace. In a series of tweets on Saturday, he said terrorism has adversely affected the lives of innumerable innocent people across the world. On Anti-Terrorism Day, Mr. Naidu paid tributes to the countless brave men and women who have made many sacrifices in the fight against terrorism. He urged the countrymen to take resolve to eliminate the scourge of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. United States has removed 5 defunct extremist groups from its list of foreign terrorist organizations, FTO. In notices published in the Federal Register on Saturday, the State Department said that it had removed the groups after a mandatory 5-year review of their designations. Al-Qaeda was also up for review but kept on the list. In a statement, State Department said review of these 5 FTOs determined that the organizations are no longer engaged in terrorism or terrorist activity and do not retain the capability and intent to do so. The organizations removed are the Basque Separatist Group ETA, Japanese cult Om Shirin-kyo, radical Jewish group Kahane Kak, and 2 Islamic groups Gama al-Islamiyah and Islamic Group IG, and the Mujahideen Shura Council in the environs of Jerusalem.
The 51st Remembrance Day for one of the biggest genocides of Bangladesh during 1971 Liberation War, the Chukanagar genocide, was observed in a number of cities on Friday, May 20. In Dhaka, the Hindu, Bauddha, Christian Okya Parishad and some other organizations brought out a candlelight march to commemorate the day. India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has stressed the need to prepare country's workforce to be ready for the challenges of the 21st century through a holistic skilling strategy. He was speaking at the valedictory function of the 49th World Conference and Exhibition organized by International Federation of Training and Development Organizations in New Delhi on Saturday. He said that under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there is utmost stress on capacity building in all sectors. Mr. Pradhan highlighted the role of Capacity Building Commission of India in looking at best practices in capacity building and creating synergy between different entities.
The World Health Organization has said about 80 cases of monkeypox has been confirmed in 11 countries. It also warned that more cases are likely to be reported. WHO says another 50 suspected cases are being investigated without naming any country. In a statement issued on Friday, WHO said that it is working with the affected countries and others to expand disease surveillance to find and support people who may be affected. It also warned against stigmatizing groups because of the disease. Earlier infections were confirmed in Italy, Sweden, Spain, Portugal, the United States, Canada and the United Kingdom, where the first European case was reported. Monkeypox is most common in remote parts of Central and West Africa. The Indian men's compound team won the gold medal in the Archery World Cup 2022 Stage 2 in Gwangju, South Korea on Saturday. The Indian team came from behind after trailing in first 2 sets to prevail over France by 2 points in an intense finish to win the gold medal in successive world stages. The team of Abhishek Verma and Avneet Kaur also won the bronze in the mixed event. They beat higher-seeded Turkey's Amir Khan Hani and Ayse Bera Zuza 156-155. The Indian women's compound team of Avneet Kaur, Muskan Kirar and Priya Gurjar have also won a team bronze in the recurve section at the World Cup Stage 2.
Hockey India on Saturday named a 24-member Indian women's team for the FIH Hockey Pro League matches to be played in Belgium and the Netherlands in June. The matches are being held ahead of the FIH Hockey Women's World Cup. The team will be led by Savita and vice-captained by Deep Grace Eka. Chief coach Yannick Shopman said it is a well-balanced squad with a mix of very experienced players and youngsters who have shown great promise after their Junior World Cup outing. In IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals have set a victory target of 160 runs before Mumbai Indians at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. In reply, Mumbai Indians were 101 for 3 in 15 overs when reports last came in. Earlier, Mumbai won the toss and elected to field.
Now let's take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we have a look at the press reports on China. India's sharp reaction to the second bridge being constructed across the Pangong Lake by China was prominently reported across the media. Prasar Bharati Beijing reports that the UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet will travel to China on Monday for a long-awaited visit to the northwestern region of Xinjiang, where Beijing has been accused of abuses against the mostly Muslim Uyghur minority. Al Jazeera reports Canada has banned China's Huawei Technologies and ZTE Corp from its 5G networks on security concerns.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Himalayan Times writes, Saptari, where no female could make it to the mayoral post in the last election, has seen the first woman candidate elected as mayor in the district this time. According to the Himalayan Times, at least 30 climbers successfully scaled Mount Everest on Friday morning. Now let's have a look at the press reports on Balochistan. As per ANI report, Pakistan federal government has challenged the Islamabad High Court to suspend its April 28 single bench order regarding the formation of a separate commission on addressing complaints of harassment by Baloch students. ANI report says the Baloch National Movement has staged a demonstration outside the British Prime Minister's residence in London. The purpose of the demonstration that was held on May 18 was to record a protest against the illegal arrest of Noorjan Baloch by Pakistani forces in Hoshab. Protests were carried out on Friday in Turbat and Panjgur against the enforced disappearance of Baloch women. According to the Balochistan Post, members of the Turbat civil society, workers of the Haq Do movement and the family members of missing Habiba Baloch blocked the main highway leading to Karachi and Gwadar and sat there in protest.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Pakistan. According to Dawn, the Election Commission of Pakistan on Friday de-seated 25 dissident MPAs of the PTI who voted for PLMN's Hamza Shehbaz in the election for Punjab Chief Minister, stating that they had defected from the party. As per Geo News, National Assembly Speaker Raja Parvez Ashraf on Friday declared PTI MNA Raja Riaz Ahmed as the new leader of the opposition after getting support from 16 MNAs.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Bangladesh. The European Union has welcomed the openness of the Bangladesh government regarding an international election observation mission for the next general elections, reports Daily Star. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called for strengthening global solidarity and adopting a well-coordinated response against the food, energy and financial crisis resulting from the Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19 pandemic, reports Pratham Alo.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Central excise duty reduced on petrol by 8 rupees per litre and on diesel by 6 rupees per litre in India. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal to lead Indian delegation at World Economic Forum in Davos from Sunday. Australian Labour Party leader Anthony Albanese to take over as country's next Prime Minister. Prime Minister Scott Morrison concedes poll defeat. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on two-day visit to Japan on Monday to take part in Quad Leaders Summit, to hold bilateral meetings with US President Joe Biden and Prime Ministers of Australia and Japan. 9 new ministers inducted in Ranil Wickremesinghe cabinet in Sri Lanka. India's Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says terrorism is a grave threat to humanity and world peace. World Health Organization confirms 80 cases of monkeypox in 11 countries. Indian men's compound team wins gold medal in Archery World Cup 2022 Stage 2 in Gwangju, South Korea. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals set a victory target of 160 runs before Mumbai Indians at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. And now, before we end, let's listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Montenegro. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.